Today we're going ultra wide angle, guys. We're talking the 16 to 35 f4 Sony full frame lens, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to break it down. It's 2019. Is this lens still any good? I'm going to tell you what I like and what I don't about it, and we'll see if it's right for you. Here we go. So we're jumping into the full frame Sony FE 16 to 35 f4 lens, and right off the bat we'll throw up some specs that you'd find on the box or on the website, just to give you an idea if you're just getting started looking at this lens. And this won't be overly technical. I'm not concerned with things you can fix with one click in post. So here we go. Build quality. As far as build quality is concerned, it's what you'd expect of a Sony lens. It's awesomely small, coming in at only 3.88 inches long and just over 3 inches wide. It's a solid metal construction, and it weighs just over a pound. You'll find a large grippy zoom ring in the middle with a smaller focus ring in the front, which are also metal, and like all the Sony lenses, tend to collect dirt and dust pretty easily. It does come with the lens hood that you see here, as well as a little bag to protect your lens. Thanks, Sony. You will notice the absence of any buttons, including a manual focus button or even a focus hold button, and that's a bit disappointing. The lens does extend as you zoom as well. Although it does have a nice sturdy metal mount, it does lack proper weather sealing. And again, Sony, if you're listening, just put a little rubber gasket on it and save us all some trouble. For build quality, I give it 4 stars. Now, where value is concerned, there's not a lot of options when it comes to wide-angle lenses for Sony. There is the 16 to 35 f2.8 G Master lens, its bigger brother, which does offer a few extra features and a bit better performance, but at around $1,000 more, it's hard to justify. But keep an eye out for the newly announced Tamron 17 to 28 f2.8, which is in the same line as the wildly popular 28 to 75 f2.8. It's set to be released mid-2019 and should be interesting. Coming in around $1,200 American dollars, it's not a cheap lens, but comparing its features and performance to other lenses at much higher prices, I give it 4 stars for value. So let's look at what everybody wants to know about performance, of course, and does it justify the big price tag? And let's look at the autofocus system. Right off the bat, it's snappy, it's fast, it's silent, and like a lot of Sony lenses, it does the job, it works great. It's not the best in low light situations, and of course it is an f4, but it's never let me down. Now, who's this lens for? Is it a portrait lens? Sure, 35mm makes an interesting portrait lens. It's great for real estate and just about every situation you throw at it. Being an f4, its bokeh is average, but the eye autofocus works great even in low light. Personally, I love this lens for journalistic type photography and of course landscapes. Keep in mind, one feature you are paying for in this lens is the image stabilization, which goes great with Sony's IBIS systems in their newer cameras. Alright, so let's jump in and look at the sharpness and the performance of this lens in a little bit more detail. Now, here at 35mm at f4, you're going to notice a little bit of vignetting and a tiny bit of distortion, and of course I'm not too worried about those things in any lens because I can come over here and just click on profile correction. Right off the bat, it's going to fix those things for me, so I don't worry about that. At 16mm, however, you're really going to notice the vignetting and the distortion, and of course, being an ultra-wide lens, this is quite common. And again, it's not a big deal to me because I can go ahead and click that and it's pretty much gone. It straightens everything out and I lose that vignetting. So now that everything's even, we'll start at 35mm, wide open at f4, and it's nice and sharp right in the middle. It's not the sharpest ever, and you can notice a little bit of softness around the edges, but if we stop down to f8, it gets quite sharp and almost all the way down to the corners. Stopping down even further down to f11, it retains that detail nice and sharp, pretty much corner to corner. And it's not till about f16 where things start to fall apart a little bit, but it's more than usable, absolutely. And then finally all the way down to f22, and things start to become just a little bit muddy. You're going to notice this straight in the corners as well, compared to, let's say, f8. Now looking at 16mm with that vignette and that distortion gone, it's quite sharp. It's very nice. There's the center's razor sharp, just a little bit of softness in the corners, and as we stop down, of course, f8 looking really nice. f11 extremely sharp. And then again at 16, just a little bit of softness creeping into those corners. And then finally all the way down to 22, and we definitely start to notice just a little bit more softness. But as far as wide angle lenses go, pretty good performance, I'd say. I've never had a problem with it. I've always taken nice pictures and I've been happy with the results. And for the price, you expect absolutely no less. So as far as performance goes, packing image stabilization, incredible sharpness, and a great focal range, I give performance 4 stars. So wrapping up, with everything Sony, you do get what you pay for. This is a great versatile lens. There are a lot of great things I like about it, and a few that I don't. And with not a lot of competition, it is a great contender. Overall, I give the Sony 16-35 f4 4 solid stars. I also rate things on a scale from definite buy to consider to never think about again. And in this case, it's right between consider and definitely buy. If you're looking for a great ultra-wide lens, this might be the one for you. And if budget is an issue, keep an eye out for Tamron and other companies' announcements later this year. Should be interesting. Well, that's it for this one. Thanks so much for watching. If you found it helpful, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And if you want to pick this guy up, there are links in the description below. And like always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some pictures. See you next time.